because like the guy just got moved to the table, and you can't be that confident in your read ever that somebody is just gonna auto 4x it when you open complete the small blind. That's just way too ambitious. So I would make it 1200 and raise or fold to a shove, really close depending upon how many hands you play with this guy. And given that it's none, I might default to raise folding, because in a scoop, God, that's really close. A7 is like right on the borderline. I'm raise fist pumping like ace9 or ace10. Or limp with the intentions of like folding unless they min raise. I mean, it's really kind of tough. So, given any 4x, I probably would have folded. If you had history that he was a little bit too aggressive, then I would take this exact line, I think, and be happy about it. But we flop him dead, which is always great. Raise with the jacks. The stack size is behind. I think this is good sizing. Wow, it's really hard for me not to be results oriented to note that he lost the hand. But with this size re-raising, wow, this is so gay. He just got moved, or we just got moved to a new table too. That's really gay. I mean, this is like A.D. Jones's last video, where it's just like he has queens and the guy like mid 6 bets. This re-raise sizing, I just feel like we're so fucked here with jacks, but you gotta shove. Okay, he had ace king, so we got lucky in that sense. But I mean, it's just, it looks really strong. But I mean, how are you ever gonna fold jacks in a $50 tournament? Screw that. So don't really feel whatever. Our friend defends. We flop top pair. Good c bet. Ace of clubs. That's interesting. And he leads 2 into us. I think this is a spot where I want to say that if this guy's making a click it back thing pre-flop with ace king, he seems like the kind of player who might also kind of do a click it back thing on the flop with any kind of club draw. And there's only so many hands it can improve to an ace or aces up, etc. So I would call any river that isn't a club, or it's tough to, like, I might make some tough folds on 7s, 9s, 10s, and a lot of stuff along those lines. Of course, improving the 2 pair, now I'm snapping to any bet size, because random aces are still going to bet. Now he checks, and I would fire, like, I would put in a really tiny value bet of like 2,500 and get an ace to auto call. I think 4 is a little too big, but it's still less than half pot, so whatever. He ends up folding. So he probably had some garbage like 10-9 without even a club, and was trying to make like a cheap steal on the turn, figuring that nobody ever has it. But when they make that bet on the turn, they never have it. So screw them. We raise, and shorty shoves. This is a snap call, and that's why. And raise the king queen. Somebody kind of almost 4x's our re-raise, and it looks like we are kind of newish to the table. Yeah, he's only been in the table like 5 hands. If we were suited, or I would fold to the re-raise personally, because king queen plays pretty terribly in a 3-bet pot. We do have position. He 4x'd it though, and I mean, we're pretty much gonna have to go with it if we flop top pair. And we end up flopping 2 pair, which is awesome because LOL documents. But I would defend this re-raise, it being 4x with maybe like pocket pairs and suited connectors and stuff like that. But I think Baduki king queen just isn't really stupendous. When he makes it 5,600, again, there's not really many ways you can misplay the hand. You can. There's merits to calling because he's going to be continuing with all his bluffs, kind of figuring that we have some kind of garbagey hand, and he'll continue on his draws. If we raise, he might stack off with ace queen and any king and any ace king and the like. Let's see what Kirk did. Kirk flatted, and we have to be, if he bets this turn, we have to get it in. Or you can also call and then call any river. now that he checked, I would look to bet kind of smaller. I mean, if we don't have the king of diamonds, I'm going to be looking to bet bigger, kind of as a protection. You'd really hate somebody to have like ace 10 with the 10 of diamonds getting there if you bet too small, and he just decides to spike call you. Though us having the king of diamonds, I would probably bet like 7,400 and sets up like 25k on the river into 35, which I think is fine. 10 is, you see, that's the problem. 10 looks a little too big because you have 22 behind, and I think when you put almost half of your stack into the pot at this point in this board texture, it looks like you're never going to fold. Though I think 72, 72 is more likely to get this guy to spaz. He's 10, button opens. I think a re-raise is fine. A flat can also be fine. Depends entirely upon his stats. We end up 3-betting. He 4-bets really small, and I mean, against most every player, I would fold here because this looks like the nuts, but who am I to know? We end up flatting, which I think is probably like the worst option. You're either jamming. He either has air or he has you stone dead. So if you think he has air that much, then just shove it in. But calling, I don't know. This is one aspect of No Limit Hold'em that is really above and beyond me, and I think a lot of 2-4 players and No Limit Couch games are actually way better at analyzing these situations than I do. In my opinion, I think in this tournament, I think this is the nuts pretty much every single time, so I would fold. But I've seen people like, I have Seizure and Joe Forte and like flat call and stuff like this and make it work perfectly well, or cram shove, and it's just whatever. I think in a vacuum, I would fold here, and flatting is probably really bad, but I don't feel like I have an authority to say as much. We end up flopping top pair, so like if you flop top pair here, I would check. Like, I think if you're gonna take this line, then you may as well check this flop. So hands like ace king can shove, and if you hands like pocket eights or pocket eights is never folding, stuff like pocket sixes. Any hand that's worse than yours is gonna shove because there's only pot size bet left, and you could easily have crap. So yeah, I mean, I think you just cost yourself like 22,000 chips there by dunking out. So overall, I think that was played not great. Snap call, obviously. We have the pocket jack. So large stack now. On cash opens. Still nobody around at this table, obviously. Wow. How did we lose a lot of chips here? We called 4-bet. Wow. I mean, how many hands are we at the table? Not many, right? Yeah, like 15 hands. Why would you do this? Why? Why? Why would you do this? It just doesn't make any sense. You don't have any history. Why would you just? I just think just fold. Why? I mean, there's no reason to suspect. First off, the stack sizes aren't even great for it. They're like, everyone is decently deep. And at least have like an ace in your hand. Like, I wouldn't hate it so much if you had history and you had a hand like ace 5 of clubs. Then maybe once in a while you can pull it off. But this is just straight monkey poker. Like, I would not do this. And ace king. Yeah. I mean, I'll admit. I mean, Kirk sent me this hand history, so he had to know that this was coming. That's all I have to say about that. Ryan raises. Wolfie calls. I would overcall here with fours. I think squeezing isn't great because we don't want to be getting in stacks here this deep. Get it in too often versus dominating hands. And I think you're just deep enough, barely, to set mine. I mean, just barely, and only because of the ante. We squeeze. And we get it in versus ace queen. I mean, yeah, like I said, his range for getting it in here, I mean, okay, when you're squeezing this size, you're obviously saying I'm getting in it versus anybody, and while